tiny slice of South Africa's semi-arid Karoo region was painstakingly recreated at this year's Chelsea Flower Show in London. It was the first time such an ambitious project had been undertaken to display the world-famous Karoo succulents at Chelsea's annual Festival of Flowers and Plants. I'm Martine Dennis, and this is rather unusual Africa Here and Now. Well, I caught up with ERNST VAN JARSVELDT, a master botanist who spent a lifetime nurturing these hardy plants and trees.
So the plants are really the heroes of the show. And if you can see in the background these beautiful quiver trees. And why are they called a quiver tree? They were used formerly by the Khoi and the San people to making quivers. And they were hollowed out. But you can see also, this is a dead one. So
oh, really?
It's part of life and death in deserts. And they dry out and they lose their moisture quite quickly. And then the woodpeckers would make nests in them. But that is it's like a bird hotel. And it's called, we call them in Afrikaans versamelvoël. And the English name for it is social weaver nest.
Oh.
And the social weavers have got also association with a tiny pygmy African falcon. And the social weavers will give up 2 nests or 3 and allow the pygmy falcon to stay in there. And they then protect the nest from snakes and other predators. So it's a wonderful association from weaver birds with others.
So it's an ecosystem, isn't it?
If you see it holistically, you can't really see things in separateness. But so this whole garden is to bring a little part of the Karoo, a gift from Africa to the world. And so the quiver trees are the most bold and big. But all the plants in this area that you see, there's one characteristic: they're all succulent. And why are they succulent? They come from a very dry place. When we are thirsty, we can go down and drink water. Plants are not mobile, and they have to make very, very clever plans.
And of course, that's what the Karoo is so famous for, isn't it? Let's see, what are we looking at here?
This is called, in Afrikaans, the krimpsiektebos. And it's called, it's a Tylecodon walligie. It's in the stonecrop family. And amazing about them, they've got chemical defense. So you remember I said to you that there's a dry place, there's lots of water, and animals are also dependent on water. And these aloes have got chemical defense, but this plant...
So chemical defense means they're poisonous?
They're poisonous, exactly. So in autumn, you get the fresh little leaves will start, they are deciduous. So in the dry summers, they have to rest. In the autumn, the little leaves come out, and when the cattle eats it, the cotyledon toxins, this alkaloid, intoxicates them, and they become ill and they can die. So the farmers don't like them, but it's a lovely plant, beautiful yellow flowers on a long stalk, and pollinated by insects.
But what's so striking about this installation in the midst of Chelsea, which is all leafy and flowering, is we've got rocks, we've got sand, and we've got these quite severe architectural type of plants and trees.
Yeah, exactly.
So it really stands out.
Exactly. This whole garden is all about rocks, plants, and people. Because all these plants evolve, and what we see today are the beautiful end products. They are literally shaped by suffering. So you see the cotyledons, they're also quite toxic like this, so the animals will leave them, but tortoises can eat them. So they're adapted for tortoise feeding as well. So the garden is, it's about 45 meters long and about 15 meters broad.
Now this is quite striking.
It's a beautiful, it's called a coral aloe. So aloes, the animals know instinctively, don't bite on, they are extremely bitter. So if you've ever handled the aloe and you get a little bit in your mouth, then you realize how bitter, and that's called aloe striata. It's got these little striations on the leaf. Grows very easily and quite common throughout South Africa and popular in cultivation because of the beautiful coral inflorescence during the winter time.
And you said that these are plants that are shaped as a result of suffering. That's because it's a semi-desert area, the Karoo, right?
Yeah, the plants are always under stress, and we know what stress does to humans. Too much stress make us ill, too little make us lazy, just enough make us creative. So these plants are extremely creative. They have to survive hostile environment, also from drought, sun, but also from animals. The pressure is on all the time, and what we see is that lovely, beautiful architectural end products, because they are beautiful.
Now, obviously, we know that globally the climate is changing. What sort of impact are you noticing in the Karoo area, which, as we've already said, is arid or semi-arid at least?
You're right. A lot of the plants are on the margin of the adaptation. So especially the couvachees, the northern habitat which has become so dry, the numbers have declined. But luckily in the south, where we get more rain, the numbers are increasing again. So the plants march on. So it's incredible how plants adapt and how they can change their habitat and slowly march on. The couvachees are big, they've got produce beautiful yellow flowers, pollinated by birds, and then the seeds are wind dispersed. So the seeds will wait for a gust of wind and that disperses them. But as I said, in the north, they are in trouble, but in the south again, they are increasing. But luckily, they're well established in cultivation as well.
So you are noticing the difference in terms of climate?
I've seen it in the Richtersveld, for instance, and big fields of beautiful red alopeasone in Helsekloof or in Paradijskloof. It's just dead. The temperatures went almost to 50 degrees for too long, and but there's always a soil seed bank. So let's hope that seed will germinate again with good conditions. So we always hope that we will get good for these plants to recover.
You're a veteran, aren't you? You're a veteran of succulents. I've never said that before. But you are.
Yeah.
Why have you chosen to specialise in this particular type of plant and tree?
Yeah, it's just because they are such beautiful little plants, and because they don't take much to grow. So, for instance, many of in the stonecrop family, for instance, the Crasulaceae, if they eaten by a tortoise, when one leaf drops to the ground, instead of giving up, they will produce roots to the leaf and will make a new plant. So they are extremely, they're forgiving. So, in spite of all this, that passive resistance that they have, and not acting aggressively, so many of them, they're just forgiving and start growing. So they use almost the abuse and turn it into good use. And there's a whole group of plants like the elephant foot, the Portulacaria afra, which we also have on display as well. So they became so co-adapted to all this stress from drought.
So this is what you find fascinating, is it?
It's just
particularly?
So all right. Adapted and all
what else have we got?
Okay, we've got Hoodia. That's known as the Hoodia cactus, but it's not a cactus. It looks like it, but they're edible. So, and the Khoi and the San people, they used to scrape off the spines, cut them up and eat them. I've also eaten them. They're nice. They often have a licorice aftertaste, but they are very, very nutritious. And they were also used, so some people thought they suppress appetite, but they always gave me appetite when I was hungry in the desert eating them. So they belong to a different family, the Apocynaceae family. And their flowers, they produce beautiful, like almost sun panels. And they're brown, but they don't smell very well. Like other plants make use of butterflies to pollinate, they attract flies, but they fool the fly. So the fly will go from one plant to the other and pollinate them. So amazing, beautiful. They're still quite common, and
Now, as I said, this is the first time at Chelsea that you've had this kind of, a little bit of the Karoo of South Africa here. What sort of reaction have you had?
There's a big reaction because if you look around you, everything is green and nice and lush. And you can just see flowers around. And suddenly you come to this, it looks dull, it looks empty. But if you look closer and then you start looking at nature's real gems. And it's really something special, that contrast. And I think that's what our boss really wanted to do, to bring a little piece of the Karoo as a gift to the world, to show this beautiful climate, that there's more to just green plants, more to just South Africa, Table Mountain and Proteas, but 2/3 of South Africa semi-desert, and that those plants are continuously adapting to climate change.
And how difficult was it, practically speaking, to create a little bit of the Karoo in the middle of rather chic Chelsea in London?
Yeah, it was quite a challenge, but luckily we had architects from the Newt, Katie Lewis, and my colleague Cornel Beekes. And together we planned it, and Katie came up with this wonderful plan. And she also noticed, we took her out into the field to Worcester to show her various habitats, but she had several challenges. But she noticed also there's a lot of dry riverbeds. You never find dry riverbeds in Europe. But here, and she's created this beautiful dry riverbed where we can walk on. It was a big challenge for her to find rocks that match. These are all sedimentary rocks. It's Malmesbury shale. It's supposed to be Malmesbury shale, but she was able to source locally from a quarry rocks that is so close to Malmesbury shale you can hardly tell the difference. So I was absolutely, it's from Cornwall. It was so amazing when she could get it, and also the red soil from Devon. So she got, like the Kalahari, just like it. So people can't believe it. They said that you fly in all this 200 tons of this.
Because this looks African, most definitely.
That looks like African, and it was 200 tons of rocks. And so it took 18 days to construct, and then obviously we had to do all the planting. So all the bigger plants, all the plants on show were grown in cultivation. So nothing of this comes from nature. So they were literally grown from seed, and what we see as the end product. So the bigger plants, as I said, we had to flow them in. All the smaller plants, most we could get from Britain locally, because there's so many. The British Cactus and Succulent Society, they provide seed to grow all these plants. Not only that, but expertise as well.
Of course, because some of these here in the UK are grown as house plants indoors.
Exactly. So many of the succulents, people always think of succulents always growing in the sun in open desert, but the majority are small little succulents and always under bushes. So they make use of nurse plants. So that protects them from the sun. And you're right, and some of them are beautiful, and they're so popular, and they do well on a windowsill. So they do. So the diversity is so wide, because we've got 15 different families that they can choose from. So it's difficult sometimes to decide, from the little stone plants up to the big baobab, the world's largest succulent, and that is the largest succulent of Namaqualand, the quiver.
And it is quite beautiful, isn't it?
And you see they start solitary, with that solitary stem.
Yeah.
And then they divide in two. They've got typical fork branching. And each branch will then again branch dichotomically. So forking, until you get a complete round sphere. So it's so beautiful, but they're not always like that in nature, because the baboons are very destructive, and so often they rip off the branches. So you often see a half tree, and there's one of them, you see there as well, half of the head has been, and you see there at the back.
Yeah, I can.
The head has been broken down, and it's probably baboons that do it, because they're quite destructive.
You love them, don't you?
Yeah, I love these succulents, and I think it's, you've got to, I'm a plantsman. So I really love plants, and I love growing them from seed or from cuttings, So also what we do as horticulturists, and especially at Christmas in the past as well, and at Babylonstoren now, is by providing seed, and especially taking rare plants and then put them on the market without having to take them from nature, so that people can grow it for ex situ conservation. That's really the best way to go. Flood the market so there's no demand anymore. And
I like this little touch. What are we looking at here?
That's a red hartebeest. So hartebeest is very, they usually occur in large groups. They're quick runners, and they can also run long distances. So the lions and the leopards would love to get them, but they are well adapted for that. But skulls you find often very prevalent in our Karoo, because as I said, life and death, that's part of nature. And so there's many animals who also live inside them, little lizards and snakes and so forth. But
well done, Ernst. It really is impressive. It makes me very nostalgic. I love South Africa. Ernst, thank you very much indeed.
It's a big pleasure. Very welcome.
Thank you.
Nice speaking to you, Martine.
That's all for this edition of Africa Here and Now. Don't say you don't get variety with us. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe and share. We're available on major audio platforms as well. You can follow us on the socials, and there's a super website that has all our past episodes, plus some really interesting commentaries by outstanding contributors on some of the major issues of the day. www.africahereandnow.com. I was at the Chelsea Flower Show with Ernst on May the 21st, 2025. Simone van der Kolf was our camera operator. Tevin Sudi and Simon Elliott put it all together. Anne Busby is our producer, and our wonderful original music is by Enric Adam. My thanks to Ernst, and as ever, my thanks to you for your company.